Hello everybody, it's me again, the Plains Jam, or Martin1700, whatever you want to call me, and I want to talk about something that's a little bit more foreign to this channel, or I don't know, I just did an anime video like a couple days ago, so I guess not really that foreign. So what has happened in, I guess, the recent indie game development news or whatever, is that Yandere Dev has gotten into some controversy, which is shocking, I know. He got into some controversy with another game developer who's making another Yandere Simulator type game called Lovesick, or I think it's called Love Letter right now. Basically what Yandere Dev actually did was that he went up to this guy and he was like, hey man, like this game is like hurting me so bad, please stop development of the game, shit like that. And it's just a whole fucking thing. And now people are kind of just like hating on Yandere Dev, or I guess hating more on Yandere Dev. So for me personally, Yandere Dev and Yandere Simulator were something that I didn't really give too much of a shit about. Like, I heard about the game, I even have one of the older builds downloaded on my older computer, the crap computer that I use like for the latter part, no, not for the latter part, for the earlier parts of my channel. But most of all, I didn't really care about Yandere Dev or Yandere Simulator until all this shit went down. And I kind of want to talk about what is the main problem of Yandere Dev's game. And I think I kind of figured it out. Some people kind of say like one of the main problems with Yandere Dev's game, or Yandere Dev himself, is that he's a terrible person, or he's like a bad person or some shit, which for me personally, I don't really care about. There are so many internet celebrities on the internet that are like that are super bad. I stopped really caring about like people being good people on the internet, okay? Maybe you guys do. I don't really care about that. It's whatever. But no, the main problem that I feel that is happening with Yandere Dev's game, or Yandere Simulator, is that it's too ambitious. Now, I kind of want to get into some backstory before I go into this. So back in the day, or I guess like back in 2014, Yandere Dev actually shot like ideas of Yandere Dev around on like, on fucking Yandere Simulator around on 4chan or some shit like that. I guess he was shopping ideas, or he came up with the idea on 4chan. And he eventually said, fuck it, I'm just going to make this game. And for someone who taught himself how to code in Unity, this game isn't really that bad. Like, it's not the best game ever. It has some optimization problems, but other than that, like, it's a pretty decent game overall. But the main problem, from my own research and also watching videos on this guy, is that he started out way too big for his britches. Like, he started out way too fucking big for this. And to me, I kind of empathize with him for a little bit. A little bit ago, or I don't know, like a few years ago, I was actually into game development. For me, I'm kind of a filmmaking person, but back then I was kind of into game development and decided I wanted to make my own games. And I came up with a couple of game ideas. One of these game ideas was like a Last of Us type game with like a whole bunch of cutscenes, and like it had like a destroyed like city urban type feel to it. The second game was a Fallout style game that I called Brutal Suns, and it was going to be like an RPG FPS type game and whatever. And I noticed that the common denominator, or the common theme with my games and Yandere Simulator, is that these games started out way too big for the creator to actually handle. The thing about Yandere Simulator is that I think he said himself that he wanted the game to kind of be a mixture of Persona and Hitman, which are two massive games. Like, even like a Persona game, okay? That is way too complex for one person to do. And the thing about it is that Yandere Dev actually had a studio or a game publishing company come up to him and say, hey dude, like, we'll help you out, like, we'll script the game and you can do the rest of the directing if you just let us script the game. And he let them do it, but then he threw them out of production because he couldn't understand their code, which is kind of like bro, like, you're supposed to be directing the game. Like, who gives a fuck if you can't understand their code? Like, direct the game. Yeah, he kind of threw him away, and now he's working on this massive game by himself with volunteers, by the way. But even then, volunteers are going to kind of like get you just to like a certain point. And now this game has been stuck in 6-year development. For me, in my games were very, very massive. That first game that I talked about, that Last of Us style game, Like the treatment is 130 pages. Brutal Sons is 70 pages, but I was like, with the stuff that I was going to be writing within it, it was going to be easily 500 pages. It was that big. I was going to make a game that was like Fallout scale. Like on the screen right now, you kind of like see like an open world. Like this is like a build of my game right now. It was going to be way more massive. It was going to be like a huge ass game. But the thing about it was that I and a freelance 3D modeler that I work with right now, those are the only persons working on the game. No one else, just me and that guy. And I eventually gave up on those projects because I realized that they were way too big for me. Like a Fallout style game deserves a full team dedicated to it. Like at least a team of 7 people with it. I was only one guy, okay? And Yandere Dev is only one guy with like a few volunteers. So I think the main problem with Yandere Dev and his game is that he's the only one working on it. This game has been in development for 6 years, okay? There's supposed to be like multiple features in like the game, but the thing about it is that he hasn't really gotten to those features yet. Like when I first played the game, like you had like a choice to choose like what your senpai or what your like crush was going to actually be, I guess. Like you could either choose the crush to be male or female, and I can only choose the male one, which is kind of like, why would you give me the choice if you haven't implemented it yet? You're supposed to be having like rivals, like, you know, like rivals that are supposed to like, I guess, take the main crush's heart or some shit. But like he's almost finished with only one of them. There's supposed to be like 7 or I think like 6, I don't know, fucking like rivals, or I don't fucking know. But there's supposed to be like multiple rivals, and he's only like almost finished with like one of them. Only one of them in 6 years of development, okay? There are so many indie games that have come out in those 6 years that it's like kind of like, dude, like, come on, bro. And also, there's supposed to be like a mode. I heard there's supposed to be like a mode. I think there's supposed to be like a prequel mode where like you play like a prequel story of the main character's parents in high school, where it kind of explains like how they met. And it's kind of like you're doing like a main story into like a main story. Like, what are you doing, dude? It's kind of like, oh my god, like I see so much of Yandere Dev in myself sometimes, and sometimes I even still have this problem. Like with film ideas that I have, like some of them can sometimes be way too big for me to do right now, and I put them on the back burner. But that's the thing about me. I realize that they're way too big, and I put them on the back burner for when I have more money and more time. But it seems like Yandere Dev got into something that got way too big for him, okay? So that's kind of pretty much it. I feel that Yandere Dev started off way too big for what he did. What I think he should have done was create like a really smaller type game where it's pretty much like a simple Yandere Dev. Like you probably have like 2 rivals, doesn't really have that many features, but a game that he can pretty much complete by himself and not have it like rival Persona and Hitman. Probably something a little bit more simple. And then once that game gets once he like finishes the game and sells it off and like, you know, recoups his costs and stuff like that, he can make the sequel, which can contain way more, you know, features and shit like that, like the features he wants now. Kind of like what Scott Cawthon did, even though he kind of didn't change up the formula. But you know, Scott Cawthon like has made like a bunch of games off of a single game, and that single game isn't even in 3D. It's like 2D images stitched together. I don't know, bro. That's just me. He should have started off smaller and then went bigger as he got on. That's on me though. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that Yandere Dev should just start off super big or super small? I'll see you guys on the next video, and bye. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a like, and if you like any more of my content, subscribe.